Hello and welcome to Legal Bites. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. We don't give legal advice, but we do talk about how the law works and try to look into our crystal ball to see how things might turn out. If you're enjoying this on YouTube, we'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, all the great YouTube-y stuff. And if you want to listen while out and about, we're now offering our live streams in podcast form where you can leave a rating and review. Links are in the description below, as well as to our clips channel where you can find some of the best clips taken from our live streams. Otherwise, if you want to catch me elsewhere, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Locals, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube member, or by buying some really awesome Legal Bites merch. Again, all links are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. Super quick jury verdict today. And with me already is the wonderful Miss Natalie Lawyer Chick. How's it going, Natalie?
It's going great. I feel like I'm getting some type of feedback from something, so I'm going to mute myself, but I'm here. Hi, everybody.
So, yeah, I know you and I were talking through DMs just very briefly. You said you hadn't really been able to follow the trial because you've been in your own trial. Successful verdict for your client, though, which is great. So
absolutely amazing outcome for my client. I mean, I cannot stress enough. I was not expecting the result that we got.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So congratulations to you. And I am going to add this to the stream. By the way, Terry Sanderson is in the courtroom. I have not seen Gwyneth Paltrow.
I don't have any preference, so it's up to your clients. They want to.
The judge is back.
For the jury, are we not letting the press in, or what's the purpose of this moment?
I assumed everybody was already in. You can go ahead and let them in. Oh, he's just going through the guidelines? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And just to verify with the court TV and with the AP reporter, or the AP photographer, if you could listen to me for just a minute.
So she is there for the verdict.
No,
okay.
I mean, I know this goes without saying, but no pictures of the jury.
Understood, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Christina B. It's pronounced Alita, like not a pint, but Alita. It's a goofy way to think of it, but it works.
They're just being briefed right now.
Thank you for asking.
That's a cute way to say it.
Yeah, my mom came up with it. Yeah, so we did a poll earlier today of when people thought that the jury would be back with a verdict, and 65% said by the end of today. So go figure. They were right.
What state is this in?
Utah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. Apparently this is the first trial to ever be live streamed in Utah's history.
Jody?
Wow. I don't think Maryland
or
has
broadcast,
had
I should say.
Okay.
Live stream per se. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, here comes everybody coming into the courtroom. That guy with the plaid shirt, he's been there like every single day. And he's been like very interested in the trial. Like you could tell how he's like watching from like back and forth, like very engaged.
Maybe he knows her.
Maybe.
Yeah. I like her outfit. It's very Brooks Brothers.
Yes. I have to say, her courtroom fashion has been great. I know that there's been some blogs about it, like about how expensive it is, but the jury doesn't see that. Like they just see her being well put together conservatively, like understated fashion. Perfect.
So before this verdict comes out, I've watched absolutely not a single drop of this trial. But am I crazy for thinking it's crazy to sue somebody for a person-to-person ski crash? I just feel like that's a thing that just happens when you ski, no?
And that's something that the defense really hammered in, was that there is inherent risk in skiing. So you assume a certain level of inherent risk, and sometimes you collide into another person. Sometimes it's because somebody's being negligent or reckless, and other times it's because of no reason, just because of weather conditions or
I think we've got everyone in here that wants to come in.
snow conditions.
You could be seated,
all kinds
and
of
I'd like to
reasons.
just say a few things before we call the jury in. There is a verdict in the case. I think you've all been told that. Before the jury enters, I just want to say a few things that I say in every case. The court appreciates that this has been a long and difficult trial for the parties and their counsel, and that emotions may be running high. The court reminds everyone that there should be no outward reaction when the verdict is read, and that these proceedings are not over until the court has been adjourned. Most importantly, and regardless of the verdict, the jury has sacrificed more than 8 days of their time to serve, and they are entitled to be shown the same courtesy and respect that they have been shown throughout these proceedings. I want to remind the people that are all here that there are strict orders that are in place concerning the use of phones, cameras, recording devices, unless you've been approved, and there are only 2 people in here that have been approved for capturing anything by video, by audio, or by still, you should not use your cell phone or any other device that might capture those things. Thank you. Ready for the jury?
All right. Here they come. Yeah, I don't see.
And I have been impressed with how well everyone has been throughout this proceeding. So thank you.
Oh, this is a nice judge.
He's he's such a nice judge. And he has been like the air in the room. Like you don't you don't feel his presence for the most part. Like he's just very calm, very, you know, like how some judges get very spicy in these trials, and like you really get a very loud personality from the judge. Like sometimes that can be a distraction. He's just like the air in the room, just like, it's there, but like not
For those that are
influencing
arriving
the
late, there's
proceedings.
no use of any recording devices at all.
Ooh, somebody getting kicked out for bringing in a recording device.
This is like deja vu. I just sat in a courtroom and got my verdict in one of my cases. This was literally today. I think it was like 2:30 today, just a couple of hours ago.
Oh, that's so funny. Are you going to celebrate? I hope you do. There you go. Get it. That's a really nice glass, by the way. It reminds me of, have you seen any of the seasons of Love is Blind on Netflix?
No, unfortunately. I'm so out of touch. Oh, I'm so bad.
It's definitely a guilty pleasure. But because it's such a bizarre concept. But yeah, Mr. Bites and I, we blame COVID. That was why we started watching those kinds of like shows. Yeah, they have that kind of like glass. It's like all over the place, and it actually enrages Mr. Bites because he doesn't like that style, and so he's like, they're everywhere. I'm like, I like them.
These are great because they're metallic, and so I have them on my bar over here, and they don't break if you bounce into them by accident. So that's why.
Yeah.
They're
in case you have like a few too
Thank
many.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For the record, the jury is now in the courtroom and the parties are present with their attorneys. Would the foreperson that the jury has selected please stand and state your number?
Number 19.
Thank you. Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have here.
Will you please hand it to the bailiff, and the bailiff will bring it to me? Thank you. You may be seated.
Wait, he's Gwyneth's brother?
That
I don't
makes
know
a
about
lot
that.
of sense then that he would be so into it.
It would It would make sense, but I don't know what her brother looks like. I know that she has a brother.
Really? She strikes me as an only child. I'm so surprised she has a sibling.
Thank
I
you.
just
We'll
know
now
because
have the
I looked
clerk
at her
read the verdict.
Wikipedia. But somebody in the chat mentioned that her mom's there. I don't see Blythe Danner behind her.
Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No.
Yes.
Was Gwyneth Paltrow's fault a cause of Terry Sanderson's harm?
You can't say no.
There's just
Or you
no
can't say yes.
response there.
Okay.
Boom.
Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes.
Whoa.
Was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause
Whoa.
Gwyneth Paltrow's did Terry Sanderson's fault cause Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes.
Oh, they completely
Wow.
didn't believe him.
Comparative fault. What percent of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%.
Oh, snap.
Damages. What amount fairly compensates Gwyneth Paltrow for economic damages? $1.
Wow.
Signed March 30th, 2023.
Wow. Boom.
Thank you.
He shouldn't have said that he can't taste wine anymore. That's
So
what I heard him say.
to juror number 19, the poor person, is this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And the attorneys have asked that I poll the jury, so I need to ask each one of you if this is your verdict. This is not an unusual thing to happen. It happens quite often.
all the time.
So number 16, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 11, is this your
Accent.
verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 8, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 2, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
I've already covered number 19. Number 28, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 29, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
And number 32, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. So to the attorneys, is there anything further before I discharge the jury?
Nothing for the plaintiff. Your
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay,
Thank you to the jury.
let me just read you the last jury instruction. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this trial is finished. Thank you for your service. The American system of justice relies on your time and your sound judgment, and you have been generous with both. You served justice by your fair and impartial decision. I hope you found the experience rewarding. You may now talk about this case with anyone you like. You may be contacted by the press or by the lawyers. You do not have to talk to them or with anyone else, but you may. The choice is entirely yours. I turn now to the lawyers and to the press and ask them to honor your wishes if you say that you do not want to talk about the case. If you do decide to talk about the case, please respect the privacy of your fellow jurors. The confidences that they may have shared with you while deliberating are not yours to share with others. Again, thank you for your service. You may now retire. And if everybody else would please remain here, we've got some things to do.
All rise for the jury.
Nice. Well, I agree with the jury. Definitely agree with the jury on this one.
I know nothing about the case except when I heard that she was being sued for hitting someone in a ski crash, I was like, what?
May be seated.
Yeah.
I've seen a few times.
So,
I can't believe that was even allowed.
I've got a few things I'm going to do with the parties.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask everyone who's still in the courtroom at that point to remain seated while the parties leave. So anyone who wants to be outside when the parties leave, please do that now. So Mr. Owens, I'm looking to you to prepare a judgment on the jury verdict.
Perfect.
Will you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. You know, and her reaction is pretty measured. It's pretty.
Mr.
I had
Sykes,
more
is
of a
there
reaction than
anything
she did.
further,
Granted, I'm
for
not
the
in the
court
courtroom.
Before the court adjourns?
I feel like she
No,
felt like she
my
was
client just
going
wants to say
to-
thank you to Your Honor for the effort you made to. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. Owens, is there anything further from the defense before the court adjourns?
No, thank you, Judge, and to all your staff and the bailiffs.
Let me just comment that I appreciate the professionalism that all the attorneys have shown and the parties, so thank you.
That's nice.
This court is now adjourned. Thank you.
He's a nice judge.
Slip out before.
I have
Yes,
nice
everyone
judge.
remain seated while the parties leave.
I'm going to make a quick statement. Ms. Paltrow's not going to be making a statement today.
Aw, did you
So
see
you
that?
can make the statement
Yeah.
outside, Mr.
Aw,
Owens.
that
I will
was
do
nice
that.
of her.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I can also understand him not wanting to turn back and like meet her gaze.
Yeah. That was
That's
nice
gotta
of
be a
her. That's what you do when you win. You win gracefully. You know, she
Yeah.
patted him on the back. She whispered something in his ear, and I think it was nice. That was nice.
Yeah. Based on her expression, it looked like it was like an empathetic
Yeah.
statement.
Like a
Although
take
obviously we
care or
can't hear
something
it.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aw.
We're now
I'm sure the
adjourned.
lip reading people will be all over that.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, this has been going on for 7 years. Hey, Rob, how's it
Has
going?
it
You
really?
missed it.
Hey,
How's it going?
great.
I was
Great.
off by an hour. Damn it.
What did you
Oh,
think? That it
man.
would take longer or less time?
So after yesterday, and I have to be honest here. So Spidey from the behavioral arts, he and I were filming until about 11:30 last night, Eastern, reviewing testimony from Sanderson primarily and all of his corroborating witnesses. And he's going to put the video out at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and I hope people go watch it because I don't want people saying I called this wrong. This is yesterday killed Sanderson.
Yeah, it did. Ending with that Epstein statement was
I didn't
the
see
wrong.
anything,
was-
but did he say something? I saw something on Twitter about him saying something about a private island and children.
He referred to the JE island, and how you can't let celebrities get away with things. Like the next thing we'll know,
Like the
we'll have
ski
more
crash.
JE islands.
Oh no.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
have more islands involving certain activities, which he I'm not going to use the word because of YouTube. But you catch my drift. So
Bad.
yeah,
That's real bad.
and even before that, it wasn't great for him. There were a lot of they were going through a ton of photos of his travels and going through like details of like he's been in Machu Picchu, he's been to Thailand, he's been to Morocco twice, he's been to Netherlands 4 times, he's been like like so many
Natalie.
places.
I thought he was injured.
No, Natalie. Like the sorry, Alita. I'm a little excited.
I am too.
I'm still
Steve-
listening. I'm not leaving. I'm just pouring myself a glass of champagne. I'm listening. Go.
Do it.
Good.
Do it.
Steve Owens, I've been remarkably critical of him for a lot of the trial.
Yeah.
But then the last 30 minutes, and it was the time management thing. Managing it so he had 30
Yes.
minutes where he could call the plaintiff to the stand and go through the most damning testimony, which was the photos. In the last 5 years after this incident, he went to Machu Picchu. He climbed Everest, right? Rode on the backs of camels. He was kayaking. It was all these photos. And if you were leaning in one direction or the other, at the end of that cross, you were going, oh my God, there's no way. You can't come back from that. And the plaintiff
climbed Everest.
He has a camelback on. He's traveling all over the world, doing all these things.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not disparaging people who have gone through traumatic incidents and do that as a method of rehabilitation, bring their mind back to a space that is capable.
Yeah.
But you can't go in to a jury and say that you need to give me $3 million because my life has been so significantly altered that the enjoyment that I'm going to reap in the last 10 years of this life, based on statistical tables, is worth $3 million. And then you see that he has traveled more in the last 5 years than people I know have traveled in their entire lifetime.
Their lives. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, my criticism of Owens with that last direct, because he called him as an adverse witness, Was I did feel I don't know. Did you think it went on a little too long? Because I was like, if you're on board with Gwyneth Paltrow on this, like you get it. You're on. And
No, it was perfect.
if you aren't convinced, like you might be checking out for the rest of the direct. You disagree?
I thought it was perfect.
Okay.
Because for everything, look, and I want you guys to watch the video tomorrow when Spidey releases it, but he takes some of Owens's cross-examination of Terry Sanderson and condenses it to the actual question and answer part, not the lead up, not the whole preface, not the argument stuff that he sticks in between, which is, in my opinion, just really frustrating when attorneys do that. But if you focus on the question and the answer given, oh my gosh, there were some pointed questions, some pointed answers. And in that the adverse calling, he was direct. And yes, he was there for a little bit, but every question had a point. Every question was scoring points. There were no questions that were really kind of empty responses given back. And even the responses he was getting that were denials, some of them were so ludicrous that you saw Owen sitting there just smirking. I thought that was masterful use of the last 30 minutes. That was trial management and a very risky call. That was such a risky move.
It was a risky move. I mean, they definitely could have done better to leave more time for that, because there were a lot of direct and cross examinations by Owens in particular that had a lot of dead air, a lot of questions that you're like, no, I'm not so sure that we need to be getting into this information. But yeah. Avi Schreier, thanks so much for the super chat. Says, can we get a verdict on whether Moses is John Lennon? Are you talking about the attorney who played Moses in the courtroom, read in his deposition transcript?
Oh, the Peter, the long-haired guy?
Yeah.
Crazy who played Moses. What?
Moses is in Gwyneth Paltrow's son, I should clarify.
Yeah,
not
Natalie,
the one with like
Natalie
the staff
is
and
in
raising his arms in battle and
I'm sorry. It's like, it's not just this trial, it's the world in general. When you're in trial, it's like you feel like Rip Van Winkle, like you feel like you go into the trial and then you come out and the world is a different place,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when I even heard that Gwyneth Paltrow was in trial, I was like, what? So this is just so crazy to me. I'm sorry, I can't be very analytical in my assessment. I'm just blown away by everything I hear.
No, that's fine. And when you go back and watch any of the recaps, and my gosh, you're going to see some commentary, because there was gum chewing throughout half of a day of trial by an attorney.
Never like that.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He is a baby attorney, I think, but still, nonetheless, I feel like that's even more reason to be extra careful about following the rules. Like I feel like I was like the most self-restricted in my earliest days of going into a courtroom, because I was like, I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want the judge to get mad at me. I don't want the judge to yell at me. I don't want the judge to like look over their glasses at me in that like piercing way that sometimes they can do. So I was all like,
it's been like 13 years for me and I still feel like that. Like I still have moments where I'm like, sorry, can I do this? I don't know. So
I
chewing
do
gum
too.
in court, I can't imagine.
No, the chewing gum during court, like I get nervous about like having my water. I bring my big water bottle in, right, on trial days, because God, I don't know what it is about trial days, but you get so dehydrated.
yeah.
And I'm nervous about where I place that behind the table. And when I go and grab it, I'm nervous about going and turning my back to the judge to do so. I get nervous in the distinction between saying Your Honor and judge sometimes, because some judges don't like to be called judge. They like to be called Your Honor all times. It's a nerve-wracking thing. And can I do a shout out for this judge? Oh my gosh, this judge was amazing.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, you're
Immediately went to Emily D. Baker's day 2 stream. So
yeah,
that's why
because you typed in Paltrow and it was like auto playing. Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I guess there won't be a press conference then, that at least not in this feed. So unless maybe one shows up, if you guys
Let's
see it on
see.
Twitter or
Let's
something.
see. I'll keep an eye out for it because I imagine because the thing is Owens
People are
after
saying
the closing.
press conference, all caps and exclamation points. So I think there is one.
Yeah,
so you-
because Owens after the reading or after they submitted this to the jury, they had an argument over press conferences, and Owens came out and said we'd like a press conference and we'd like that to be happening. But there was a debate about whether they would allow cameras within the courthouse building proper or whether they had to remain outside the building. It's cold wherever they are, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. It sounds like they've been battling like a snowstorm and I don't know, some other stuff.
In May? It's not May. In March?
March. It's
Might as well
March.
be.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Someone's at a ring
I'll be
door.
right back. You know, if I don't come back, the
Sure.
killer got me. Okay.
Don't say that. You can't say that. I've joked about that and I get yelled at for joking about that kind of stuff.
Oh man. Okay. So yeah. So Shireen, it says that people are saying that there is a press conference. I haven't found it yet. So we'll find it when it comes up. We'll definitely be watching
Someone in the
that.
chat wants to link to it. I can, or like, just tell me where it is. I can find it while Alita's covering some of this.
Okay. There's also a question about the attorney's fees. That issue, I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I would imagine it's probably like a week from now or something. Like it's going to be some time from now, right?
Yeah, they have to brief the issue because here's the thing. So here's what's on the table. Now that they have found that Terry Sanderson himself was liable for the damages that were caused to Gwyneth Paltrow. The question then shifts to, does that then mean that Gwyneth Paltrow gets her attorney's fees reimbursed for defending the lawsuit? Two parts of this: defending the lawsuit brought against her and for prevailing in her own lawsuit against him. So there's an assessment of the fees and how they differentiate between the two. And in this particular case, because they're so intertwined, you kind of have to do a broader assessment of the fees themselves. And I believe when I was looking at this earlier, that Utah has a statutory system in place that says that in this particular case, attorney's fees are assessed when the complaint to which a counter complaint or a response was filed frivolously or without merit. Then the attorney's fees would be entitled. She would be entitled to the attorney's fees, and that's a question of whether the attorney's fees are reasonable. But it's a separately issue that's separately briefed, separately argued. They actually might put on fact witnesses to testify to the merits of the case in bringing it. And then there's additional information that you don't see at trial, evidentiary rulings, discovery rulings, things like that happen pre-litigation that can add to the judge's assessment of whether the fees would be appropriate in this case. So yeah, that's several weeks down the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at all the research you did for this. I'm so proud of you.
I tell
so
you
much.
what, it was wild. I had no idea this case was going. I don't know if you did, Alita.
I didn't know until I saw the reports of the opening statements.
That was going to be my question, is who knew that this trial was even happening? Because I was surprised AF when it came up. I didn't know this trial was happening.
Yeah. Surprised me.
Look myself, I'm looking for these feeds real quick.
Okay. Let me see.
The
Let
lawyer
me.
is simping for Gwyneth on the news. What does that mean? Simping.
What's that?
I'm just reading one of the comments that says the female
Oh.
lawyer is simping for Gwyneth on the news.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. That
Doesn't surprise me.
Watch the video on the female attorney that is the female attorney from the plaintiff's side who ends up doing the cross-examination of Gwyneth Paltrow. Well, it's a direct adverse witness, so it's essentially a cross. It was one of the worst. It's the worst questioning I've seen in a courtroom. I have no problem saying
It was so bad. She was
attorney for the plaintiff,
giddy.
simping for what? She's like excited that she's talking to Gwyneth Paltrow.
It's more complicated than that. Like, it was really weird.
It's like I had the impression that she was like trying to force like a girls' night, like that kind of conversation of like giddy, like, oh, like let's have glasses of wine and talk about things. Like it was like that level of energy that was like being put into it.
That's really, really, I mean, sometimes with the prosecution's witness, I'll try to inveigle them a bit, like get them kind of, eating out of my hand so they give me the answers that I want. But you don't want to fangirl over the other side's witnesses. That's
Yeah,
a little weird.
she went fangirl. Okay, here's
I have one of them,
KUTV2
Alita, pulled up.
Salt. I have, okay, so there's that. I've got let me pull up this one. I think this one is just, I mean, right now it's like showing like a building column, but it looks like there was something.
This one
Wait
I
a
have
second.
queued up to Sanderson.
Okay. So this is what I've got here. Oh, here's something. Okay, maybe they're going to make it.
I may not play it if you want.
Can you start handing those out?
Yes.
Lighter.
There's Owens.
So there's an email.
Okay, so who are these people?
That's
Gwyneth Paltrow's team.
This is Paltrow, Team Paltrow. Okay.
Yeah. The guy
I
with
feel
the
like it's from Mars. Okay.
the guy with the man bun and the glasses was the one who was chewing gum.
3 sentences.
That's an attorney?
Any
Yeah.
further statements will be through this email. We're pleased with this outcome and appreciate the judge and jury's thoughtful consideration and handling of the case. Gwyneth has always had a history of advocating for what she believes in, and this statement was no different. And she will continue to stand up for what is right. Any further statements will be made through an email, press@harmonyhouse.com.
Steve, we just went live on the air. Could you read that statement again, please?
Yeah, since I bought
This is so
One more time
awkward.
for the record.
This is his delivery.
For
Yeah.
James, for Gwyneth Paltrow, James Egan, also attorney for Paltrow.
We're pleased with this outcome and appreciate the judge and jury's thoughtful handling of this case.
They prepared this yesterday.
Gwyneth has a history of advocating for what she believes in. This situation was no different, and she will continue to stand for what she believes is right. Thank you.
He should have had James read
Any
it.
further statements will be made through
Look at Clark
press@harmonyhouse.com.
Kent over here.
Thanks, everyone.
That's
Did you have
what
a
everybody's been
conversation
calling
with her
him. He's
after
the
jury?
one that should have been.
What did she
That's
say
James.
to you?
He's the one that has been doing great in this trial, and the only attorney who's been doing great in this trial.
All right, so that's Steve Owens,
All right, hang on.
attorney
Pause.
for Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
I have his statement pulled up.
Okay,
And share that.
Oh,
Share
well,
the
there
The
we go.
plaintiff is a doctor, guys.
yeah. Hang on. Might take
Yes, he's an optometrist or retired
A
optometrist.
long time. How does it feel that is there some conclusion now? Is there closure? Just how are you feeling about that?
It takes too long to get to this point to get closure like that. It will be a while to
You'll
get
be
back to my life again.
You put a lot out, and this was national attention. A lot of people watching, a lot of your personal life just out there. How is all of that making you feel now?
I'm surprised they're
Well,
and him
We
talk.
joked about it a bit. This is so much for dating sites, right? There's way too much information out there for me, and so.
Why is he talking?
Again? Again?
One more time up
Yeah,
there.
no, he should not be talking. Why is he even
So much for
there? It should
dating,
just be.
but I can't pick up chicks now. This
Well, I
feels
like the
very surreal.
term that he used, we fought the good fight. We worked very hard on this. It's hard to try a case. It's a lot of evidence. A lot of things happen that we don't agree with, but that happens in every
That's
trial.
fair. That's how a trial is.
But Terry conducted himself nobly. Kept us cool. He stayed with us. He helped us. We're grateful for that. So he's a good man.
So is there anything you would redo or do differently in retrospect?
Well, I rethink a little bit about how I could be characterized. That's a real disappointment that it wasn't just about the facts of the accident, was it? There were things brought up like anxiety, which I got a prescription for.
Why are you talking? I hate this.
And I refilled it one time a few months ago for this trial, like enough for 12 days, maybe one. But that stays in your record as having that issue for the rest of your life. And there were many of those kinds of things that, no, I'm not that crazy person. I think that I listened to that whole thing about how
Having anxiety doesn't make you crazy. No one's judging you for having anxiety.
Absolutely.
They drug that character in there. And, you know,
Here's the
yeah, I
you
wish I
can
could have
get
that back.
anxiety from a
But when
ski
you go down
accident,
this,
and it's
I
still
know,
not
when you go down this
an
road,
actionable
I thought it'd be
claim.
about a
Like, you know what I'm
ski
saying?
accident
Like,
that
accidents
I knew
happen,
I
and
had
that
the
can cause
truth,
you
the
have
absolute
anxiety. That doesn't
facts,
mean you need to sue
and
her.
it wasn't about
I know.
it turned out
Yeah.
it was about the narrative of about the life I've lived.
He's gonna get a
and said that
girlfriend now. This
absolutely
guy
Why is
has
he still
I'll
talking?
never get a chance to.
a girlfriend.
I don't know. I just,
No,
He did. I wish
what?
you well. He said to me.
That was very kind. Yeah.
this is like the worst moment for him to be saying anything on a public stage. Like
Okay, in
it's,
all honesty, you guys are asking why he's talking now. He's crazy. That's why. He's a crazy man.
I know.
Well, I was
You know, like
saying
that's
this
what
somewhere in
I don't know.
we're
if
putting too many brain cells into this one.
Yeah,
one of those I call the walk of shame. You know, you walk to the fridge and you go, why am I here? What if you did that all day long? What if it was like the very next thing you did, you turned and did something else and went, why did I
Oh, the
do that?
guy might
I
actually
remember
have
putting on
dementia.
double the miles, triple the miles of what I should have walked in a day by just back and forth and undoing and redoing. So
see how he has his
those
hand on his
kinds of
shoulder.
issues
It's
are very
to make sure he
real.
doesn't go too
In
far
fact, I'll
before he
tell you
has
a
to
cute
yank
story
him
if you
away.
don't mind.
The man is crazy, and it's
You
okay.
can
So
don't
down on
no,
yourself
don't
if
tell
you're doing
stories.
that all the time. Going
Do
from
it. Put
walk
it
of
all
shame
out
to
there,
walk of
sir.
shame. Why am I here? What am I doing?
This is the
That
third time he's mentioned the
I
walk
read
of
about
shame.
the invention of the dog clicker by a husband and his wife, who used it to train seals and penguins and such, and now dogs, and condition them to a good response. And so I told one of my daughters, I think I need a dog clicker. I need to be reminded of the good things. I'm losing track of that. And I got a little.
That
gift
also
in the
sounds like
mail
depression.
with a little tag said, good boy.
Alita, they said they can't hear him.
And I clicked that clicker, you know, and it
They
got
can't hear
after 2
me or
weeks,
the
what's
feed?
amazing is that you don't need to click
Oh,
the
sorry.
clicker. All you have to do is think about, I'm going to get the clicker, click it, and the goodness is done. The good hormones, the dopamine is running in your brain, and so it worked. It helped me get me out of the doldrums when I was having
Oh,
these
this
issues.
is
And I
a
still do. I
madman.
got it out the
He's
other day.
crazy.
So once and for all,
One,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
last question.
Yeah, Jesus.
Can you pause it real quick?
There never was. If there was, I would have.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have a comment in a
Alita,
minute.
this is a crazy man.
I'm
Jamaican
gonna
Yeah.
have a comment in a
he's a
minute. Yeah,
madman.
I'm.
So the things that he's describing sound like dementia, which is not something that is caused by the accident. Sounds like depression, which he was diagnosed with before the accident, which it could have been exacerbated by the accident, of course, but
But either way, okay, you can have effects from the accident and it still not be actionable because
Yeah.
the person wasn't negligent in their actions. You know what I'm saying?
well,
Like,
of course,
Correct.
and that's what they ultimately decided here.
yeah, skiing down a slope doesn't make you now again, I'm just talking shit. Whoop, sorry, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
No,
I'm
it's
just
fine,
talking.
fine.
I'm sorry. One glass of Chardonnay and one glass of champagne. I'm saying the S word. I'm so sorry. But no, I'm just talking here, right? Because I didn't see the actual trial.
Yeah.
But the premise of the whole thing has always been ridiculous to me because unless you're telling me, oh, she's skiing somewhere that people don't ski, right? Like, oh, this is a hiking area. No one skis here. And she's just randomly skiing and no one else is, then that would be negligence. You know what I'm saying? But you're skiing somewhere where there's an assumption of risk. Everyone
There is Natalie, and that's one of the reasons why the trial I think was 8 days. Is there is more complexity to this, I think, where yeah, a lot of the people that are reaching conclusions about him and his demeanor, I don't know that a lot of them are off. I don't know that a lot of them are spot on. I'm going to withhold comments. I kind of want to just get him to finish this so that I don't have to feel as uncomfortable with him on the screen.
Fair oh, you're so empathetic. You're a good person. Okay.
I family law, dear.
Locked up
I
for
just
that
got out of a criminal law trial. We were
behind
very vicious.
security because it would have shown the absolute truth that I wished for, and we tried to encourage it to come out of the woodwork, and it never did. Never had one. It actually is a link to the lady who saved me and got me off the mountain, who came, Whitney, and got me. It was a link to that and said, here's a witness, an eyewitness, meaning she was an eyewitness to what I left, what condition I left in. And I just praised her, sang her praises for getting me off the mountain.
Thanks,
Can I
folks.
ask one more quick question?
That's it. One more.
Okay, what do you want people to, who are watching this trial, who know what was happening, what do you want them to be able to take away at the end of it?
The takeaway is the preparation for this by the attorneys, by the team of people, and the time they invested in this, that you don't see them doing, is so significant. They get so vested in this. And of course, I participate in that too. And it's a huge expense of your personal energy going in that direction. So you got a lot committed to that. And so that's all the work you don't see. And for 7 years, we haven't just been sitting around. There's been lots of work to do. So you look back on that and you go, well, I'm not so sure we got the outcome we wanted. It doesn't feel like the effort. I should have gotten the Olympic Games. We would have gotten some medal, like a silver or something, right? But no, it didn't work out that way.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
We're done. We're done. No more. No more. Please make this end.
Oh, the poor attorney.
All right. Can I give my 2 cents?
Yes.
Please, I'd love to hear it.
So I watched every day of this trial, and I have a lot of experience with people who suffer from dementia and declining mental state. And there was, it was essentially uncontested, almost stipulated evidence that his mental state is in significant decline. And that doesn't really manifest in a way people oftentimes see. Dementia patients in particular, and people who suffer from this type of mental decline, don't really exhibit all of those symptoms all at once. I'm not excusing the lawsuit itself or a lot of his behavior or mannerisms. I have a conflicted feeling after every one of these civil trials because there is a lot of emotion that goes into the trial itself. And I have never viewed this case as being as clear cut as a lot of people have. To me, I read this very much as two people were emotionally invested in a particular outcome. Witnesses became emotionally invested in that particular outcome. Testimony was given with a certain slant in both directions. His team and him in particular, with a lot of his testimony, came across as very misleading. He denied a lot of things that were just real and things that just were completely inconsistent. There's a pattern of behavior that he exhibits that just represents or shows a disconnect with a lot of reality that's existing around him. So I have a conflicted feeling here. Yes, I think Gwyneth Paltrow should have won this trial. Does it hurt me to see everyone walk out of these trials? Because even Gwyneth Paltrow walking out with that $1 victory, she is still going to need some time to recover from this as well. So is he. So everyone that walks out of these trials are in a very vulnerable state. I don't think his attorney should have allowed him to speak in that moment at all. Absolutely not. Process that behind closed doors, because stuff like that happens. Because you're processing, and especially when your client is in a mentally vulnerable state, and emotionality increases symptoms of cognitive decline and spaciness and disjointed thought processes. So I get people are going to disagree with me on a lot of this stuff, and I get people are liars. I know people are liars. I'm one of the people that will tell you guys, if they're testifying, they're lying. Every person that takes the stand lies at some point in time in their testimony, whether it's a lie by omission, exaggeration, or an outright lie.
I've never thought of it that way before, Rob. Go ahead, let me let you finish. I've never thought that before.
when you, and I had this conversation with Spidey, when you give the oath, when the oath is given, when you testify, you are sworn to tell the truth, which means that what you say is not going to be controverted by something else. It is the truth, the whole truth, which means that you're not going to omit certain facts that are harmful to your case, and nothing but the truth, which means you're not going to exaggerate any of the facts that you do recall. Every person that I have come across, when you talk about emotionally charged testimonies, fails in one of those three categories. And they might promise and they might wish to carry out that oath to the best of their ability. But when you're testifying about something where you have a desired outcome at the end of that road, you are either omitting something, you are exaggerating something, or you're just denying something that's real. And he very much did this in all three of those categories in some instance of this trial or not. But I also believe that every one of the witnesses, and now this is just me being a practicing attorney for what now, 13, 14 years?
Oh, you and I are
crap. Yeah.
doesn't it
Yeah.
blow you away? Yeah.
13 years. Everyone lies. And it's not the bad lie that we always label it being for every single witness. It varies in degree. So I think the outcome is the right outcome. It is based on the testimony that was relayed. It's 100% the right outcome.
Yeah.
I have never found it classy to, for lack of a better term, piss on someone's grave. I don't think I don't like spiking the football. I've never liked that approach.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're like, okay, so am I understanding you correctly that this was the right outcome, but that it shouldn't be like, dunking on this guy because, he's got other things going on. Right?
I think he genuinely is confused about some of these things. I mean, especially just watching that, which I completely agree. I mean, as soon as he started talking, I was like, wait a minute, why is he even there? Like he should not be on the public stage at all right now, for the reasons exactly that Rob said, is that like this has been a 7-year-long process that he has been very emotionally invested in. I mean, it came up in testimony that there was this idea of him being obsessed. Yes, obsessed with the trial, obsessed with Gwyneth Paltrow, like this. Yes, and this was like multiple. Yeah, you should.
There was an obsession about proving that he was right, and multiple witnesses testified to that. Yeah. And when you see people, look, I have people that I come across regularly who suffer from actual dementia and Alzheimer's. And when you deal with people like that, they have an altered perception of reality. They just do. And his own experts, her experts very much wanted to diagnose him with dementia. His own expert acknowledged that might be one possible thing to consider in the future. So the obsession thing rang very true to me. And the problem with that is that when you have someone that has that level of obsessive impulse and their mind is reconnecting or only remembering certain instances and then exaggerating other ones, you honestly have someone who is manifesting delusions. He testified to things that he could not possibly have heard, witnessed, or seen based on his own testimony in previous instances. He testified that he remembered flying, or that he remembered hearing a sound and then boom, and then he's on the ground and he's looking up. Well, his own testimony earlier was that he was blacked out. That's not how those things don't go together. So people can take third-party stories and they believe them so much that they make them their own.
Yep. It's the premise of the movie.
That is definitely a thing that happens. Well, let me ask you this then, based on what all of you guys are saying. Looks like I'm gonna have to recap this case over the weekend because now my trial is done. I'm sorry, I can't keep. I've been in this trial for so long, and it just had such a great outcome. I'm so hyped right now. But anyway,
I love it.
My question is this: is this a situation where a good attorney, a helpful attorney, an effective attorney would not have brought this lawsuit? Like this guy is in a state, he's in a way, and maybe it's like the best attorney could have sat him down at the consultation, just been like, "No, you really shouldn't bring this claim, man."
Yeah.
Is that what this is all about?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what those. I want to know what those early conversations were like. Like who was pushing for this? Was he pushing for it? Did anyone around him push for it? And then he just kind of adopted that enthusiasm. But the lawyers too. I'm number one, bring the case. Number two, bring the case against a celebrity. You know that she has a lot of resources to use in this trial. That she's going to be hiring the best expert witnesses possible in a case that is all about the expert witnesses, because there's so little concrete evidence, so little eyewitness evidence, even though that's less reliable than, say video and other stuff. But, regardless, like there's just so little that you can really hold on to for the jury, that it relies so heavily on expert testimony to talk about physics, to talk about medicine and neuropsychology and all these things that like you have to, going into it, you have to know that she is going to bring the best. So you better be damn well sure that you have a good case. And you also have to know that there's a good chance that there's going to be a lot of publicity, which means all of the good and bad things that are going to come out at trial are going to be very, very, very public. So are you going to be ready for that? Are you going to be ready for that level of exposure, not just in the courtroom, but around the world potentially? That's a lot. And those attorneys should have had that conversation with him. And I really hope that they did. But if they didn't, it didn't seem like he actually understood that conversation based on the things that he was saying in his last visit on the stand, when he was like, yeah, and I understand, they're just trying to tear me down because I brought this case, as if this is this Hollywood celebrity that's trying to retaliate against him because how dare he bring a claim against her, when in reality they have every right to bring their case and to call into question his claims because he's decided to bring that into a court of law. I am on a rant. End scene.
You're not on a rant. No. I mean, okay, so here's the thing, right? I have been involved in civil practice, I've been involved in civil practice when I did workers' compensation. But outside of that, I've been involved in civil cases outside of my criminal practice, right? And I always think of the difference between a criminal defendant who's dragged in there with no choice because the state is deciding to charge them versus someone, a private citizen, electing to, bring a case. And I always feel like a good attorney is the attorney that's these are all the things that can happen, all the expenses, all the embarrassment, all the waste of time. Are you sure you want to do this just because your feelings were hurt or you don't like this person or whatever the case may be? This might not be an issue for a court of law. And so I get a lot of concerns when things come to a civil court. There's a whole jury impaneled, a waste of people's time away from work because of a ski accident. I could never see it. I just can't see it.
Yeah. And the fact that they had him in that press conference, the fact that they had him there makes me think that they probably didn't have that prior conversation. They're just not thinking about these things. That's my impression.
He had prior counsel. This is his second set of attorneys. First counsel
makes a lot of sense.
And first counsel, he gave a press conference under first counsel that ends up coming to bite him in the ass big time in the end. Yeah. It ends up being one of the pivotal things in closing that Owens focuses on, where he says that she came out of nowhere. I think it was screaming like King Kong or Godzilla, and hit him.
King Kong coming out of the jungle.
It was a very, it never should have been given. So
why would she do that? What are they? Why?
I don't know. And from what I gather, half of his legal team got brought on after she filed the counterclaim, which is another thing that a lot of people don't really understand about civil litigation. You are the master of your ship right up until the point where you file that complaint and they have the opportunity to file a counterclaim. Then you are steering your ship, they're steering their ship. And if they don't go in the same direction, you're stuck going towards trial. And there could have been settlement conferences where it was I'll dismiss my case if you dismiss yours. And they could have been like, nah, not going to do it. We don't have that context. I've made this statement to, 2 points. One, in family law cases, I'm a divorce attorney. I represent families when they're at their worst. And I have clients that are emotionally charged. And I have to have several conversations with them, because when you tell them the emotional toll it takes to get up on the stand and testify about these things, the impact it has on them is going to be devastating and life-changing in a way that they'll never really understand. And they say, oh no, I understand. And then you have to wait a week and then you have another conversation with them. You don't understand. You add to that the compounding nature of the internet being the internet, and the net that you cast into the ether with your own exposed emotions in certain moments, because we got an 8-day glimpse into the life of Terry Sanderson. This man is 76 years old. We have an 8-day glimpse into his life.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was 76. Okay.
76 years old. You have 8 days. You had 8 days. All of you that are judging him from the internet side, you had 8 days. 8 days to view into the life of this man in an
And most of
adversarial
half
process.
of those, he wasn't even there.
Correct.
Oh, you're so
He was-
empathetic, Rob.
I have to be. I can't do what I do and not have the ability to view both sides of every equation. And the rule that I've always gone by is let the person, don't throw stones when you're in glass houses. And I guarantee you every single human being that's lived on this earth for more than 10 or 15 years is in a glass house. Be very careful about what you say in respect to the lives of those around you and those that you interact with, because at some point in your life, there's something that if the internet had the same opportunity, the internet would internet the same way.
Yeah.
Rob, would you be worried about him?
I'm not so much worried about him. From what I did see, at least one or two of the daughters are aware and in touch with him pretty carefully, because when people are in that cognitive decline, having people close is exceedingly important. And people that resist being pushed away, because that's what happens, they tend to push away really hard. So I think that one of his daughters is really close to him. And she testified she was definitely one of those, if we're doing the 3 stages of lying, the outright, the omission, and the exaggeration, she was an omission and exaggeration kind.
You're talking about Shay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just concerned that no one pulled him aside and was like, "This is not a good idea." Like,
it's wild.
Although to be fair, someone may have, and maybe he just didn't listen to them.
That's fair.
Because he also can, at a certain point, reach a level of emotional attachment to it where he's like, "There's no going back for me. I have to see this through."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's crossed the Rubicon. One of my favorite things. One of my favorite expressions. But no, he's crossed that level by which he cannot go back. So yeah, I guess it's that sunk loss, He just but there had to have been, well, there wasn't clearly, but someone strong enough to be there and just be like, no, this is not the right way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the man ended up humiliated on national TV. Even for me, someone who I did not watch it, but just on first brush, I was like, this is ridiculous. Why would you bring this,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. By the way, Night Eyes, thank you so much for gifting 5 Legal Bites memberships. I know that was a little while back, but I wanted to make sure that I hit that. That is so kind and so generous of you. And to those that are now members of Bite Club, welcome to Bite Club. I hope you enjoy. Well, since this trial is over, we will be having a members only live stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. East Coast time. Let me also get some super chats here.
You do that. I'm going to do one.
Okay. All right. Nicholas Starrow, Union Rep Labor Law. Thank you so much for the super chat. It says verdict in Wisconsin v. Brown in Kenosha County, 2 hours and 20 minutes, included a 1 hour and 15-minute lunch, but what to expect with a 32-second defense opening statement. I vaguely heard something about this, and that is wild. 32 seconds. That's very short. That is very short for an opening statement. I'm a little curious about that. I'm not gonna lie. Ellen, not Sarah Lee. Thanks for the super chat. It says, I have ADHD and walk into rooms and open fridge all the time and can't remember why. Yeah, that was something that also struck me, was some of his symptoms that they were going through in this trial. They also sounded very much like ADHD symptoms. I don't know if you were watching, Ian Runkle's stream yesterday. I was on there for a little bit after the end of the day, and he was still going for a bit. And we were talking about that, how like he was like, you're just describing me. Rob, did you get that impression too? That like some of his symptoms sounded like undiagnosed ADHD?
It is. And that's honestly, a lot of that is what you start to see with patients going through natural age-related cognitive decline and mental deterioration, because what happens is the logical function in their brain, the synapses that used to connect, used to be able to form logical sentences, right? Sentence structure. Go back to when you were learning how to form a sentence. I am going to this place, right? All of a sudden, when you go to form that sentence, you say, I am this place, but there's something that's supposed to be in between. I don't have it. And then you're trying to draw that connection. You don't understand how you can't draw that connection. And then you come another 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, I am going to that place. And it can manifest a lot like what you would imagine someone who has been afflicted with ADHD can handle. But yeah, people are asking, how do I know about this? I have clients that suffer from this. I have families that I represent, one of the family members who are guiding their parents through this. In family law, it's kind of wild. I end up speaking to a lot of experts in a lot of child psychology, child sociology, adult psychology, because it's kind of that's the field I'm in. So I have to learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that there was so much overlap between the two. John O'Rourke, thanks for the super chat, says, will the public find out about lawyer expenses?
They will. That'll be a filing.
Yeah. So that'll be a public court filing. So yeah, we would probably be able to see what the lawyers are requesting and then what the lawyers will actually be rewarded, because there's a difference there. I mentioned this earlier today, that they're not just awarded attorney's fees. They're awarded attorney's fees and costs, but those all have to be reasonable. So they can have spent millions of dollars on this case, and the judge can slash that down to a small fraction of that, based on what he finds to be a reasonable amount to be preparing for this trial. So, yeah.
Oh, and on that Wisconsin v. Brown, if you do decide you want to go back, and watch that, be very careful. That involved a canine that was shot while in apprehension. The canine survives, but apparently that particular moment, the prosecutor asked to walk the canine into the courtroom, and the defense objected. The judge allowed the canine to walk in over objection. The canine sat right in front of that jury box after hearing the testimony and hearing the canine handler, the officer. If you guys don't know how canines work as far as police assignment and officer assignment, that handler is that dog's parent. That is a family unit. They are trained very young. They are family. So the handler, you hear the officer's dash cam as the handler is driving his dog to the animal hospital after the apprehension, while the dog has a bullet lodged like in his head. The dog lives. Yeah. So for those of you,
that's good to know ahead of time.
Pets, don't watch that testimony.
What case is this?
It's Wisconsin v. Brown.
This sounds amazingly sad.
I caught a recap of it for a little bit.
I had to hug my dog.
That was the part I caught of it. And I was like, I can't. I watched part of it and I was like, but I have to watch. I have to make sure the dog's okay. Because you see the thing, the dog survives. And I was like, no, I can't. I have to watch the dog and make sure the dog lives.
I don't like movies where the dog dies. Like it really, like at the end of I Am Legend, spoiler alert. At the end of I Am Legend,
no.
Like, it's too much for me. I hate things where the dog, like animals die. I cannot stand anything where an animal dies. So animals getting shot. Oh my God.
Oh, so the video game Last of Us, the TV show is based off of it. So the part 2 is there's more adventure, but there's this like society that they have, like they're like pretty well organized. They have dogs that they go on patrol with and this kind of thing. And so when you're this character, you're like, these dogs are attacking you. So you have like every single time, and Mr. Bites is playing this, I'm like, I know you have to, but I don't want you to.
But then they switch perspective and you are one of the wolves and like you love the dogs. And then, and then you find out the dogs get killed and it's like so upsetting. Oh, The Last of Us Part 2 is a really like emotionally problematic video game. It messes with my brain every single time my husband plays it.
Yep, same. Oh man, but yeah, no. So the dog. I thank you for that warning because I definitely needed that.
Yeah,
Rob.
Yeah, I figured. I saw Indy come in and I was like, no, she can't go watching that trial. She has to have the warning. Like, no. And I do see people in the chat. I've seen it several times. I saw the news as well. This isn't I'm not speaking for Alita, but this is a news channel. I know every person on this live stream is a lawyer, and they're going to analyze whatever it is that comes out as far as a certain indictment out of New York. They're going to analyze it before they make a single comment on that.
Yeah.
So it's just, if you're coming here for that, you're not going to get it from any of the lawyers on this panel.
Yeah, definitely have to see exactly what's going on before saying anything. Although, I mean, I usually don't even talk about political stuff on this channel anymore anyway. Like for a period of time, I kind of did on like some stuff, like the let's see. I don't know. I can't remember. Whatever. It's been a long time. That was like early days Legal Bites when I was like, yeah, I'll talk about constitutional stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I feel like it's less alienating when you don't talk about that. Like, to your audience, it's less alienating.
Yeah.
I only talk about it when there's an actual case involved.
It's
like
a trial.
There's an indictment or there's a trial, but like, will he be indicted? I ain't talking about whether or not this man's going to be indicted. I haven't seen I know he has been. I haven't seen it. I'm not talking about anything I haven't seen or speculating or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll just wait. I'll wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like for me personally, I'm like, there can be some space on the internet without talking about politics, right? Like it doesn't have to come in everywhere.
I like my little corner. I like my corner. I like the corners of the internet that were carved out to actually discuss trials that are ongoing and things that are just a little bit easier to understand.
I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I've been questioning myself on that. I know when I first did my channel, I would just comment on any and everything, but then I kind of felt like it wasn't good quality because I was speculating. So I was like, okay, I'll only do things where I can see the evidence. Like I could see the indictment, I could see the warrant, or I could see the testimony, and then I'll comment on that. But I don't know, with this particular thing with Homeboy, I'm kind of sorry, excuse me for saying this. I'm a little tired of him and like everything that has to do with him. And, like,
no, tired is an expression you are allowed to have.
Yeah, sorry. Like, this is not like, if you're Republicans, don't be offended, but I'm just a little tired of him and like everything that has to do with everything around him. And I would just rather not. I'm just rather not. I want to live my life. Oh my God. Already. Please. Okay. Sorry. I'll leave it at that.
I don't have anything to add there. Like the little rant I went on about mental synapses and how these things work in trial. I have something to add to that discussion. I have experience I can add to that discussion. I can't add anything to that discussion.
I can't either. I can't either. And so, so it's like, I'm always trying to improve the quality of my content. So that would be a step in the wrong direction for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but don't you always kind of feel like that little bit of like, I don't want to, well, no, I shouldn't say don't you. Sometimes I'm afraid, like, am I being cowardly by not, because I talk about everything on Twitter, like on YouTube, like not covering on YouTube, but it's just like, I mean,
I've seen your Twitter, Natalie. I know you talk about everything on Twitter. Natalie spouts off on every topic on Twitter.
Everything.
It could be a cake, a cookie, a recipe, a fitness goal. It could be a trial. It could be politics. Natalie spouts off on Twitter. It's
so
great.
true.
For me, you know what it is? It's every time on Twitter. I forget that other people can see me on Twitter. Twitter is just
what?
Consciousness. I don't. And that's why it's literally like okay, I said this to my husband one time because he was like, oh my God, something had blown up on my Twitter. And he was like, what the heck is going on? And I was like, you don't know how many times I tweet something, I close Twitter, and I come back the next day and I have 1,000 responses. And I completely forgot that I said that thing. That's what I felt in the moment. I don't even feel like that 24 hours later, So it's like, I can't bring that type of energy to YouTube. It's just the chaos that's going on in my mind,
I think it's hilarious because there are times when I will be out with like friends and I'll be looking down at Twitter and I'll say, what the heck are all these notifications? And I'll scroll up. So I want you to imagine this. Next time you tweet something or you go back to your Twitter, just imagine me sitting like in my car around a bunch of friends going, oh shit, Natalie just said something on Twitter. And they're just scrolling through comments and like, oh damn. Okay. All right. I'll come back to this one. Yep. You do you, Natalie. I'm going to come back to this later.
It is literally, number one, I forget that other people can see me, right? It's not my diary. I forget that. Number two, the feelings that I have about things that seem to be like so strong on Twitter, by the next day, I've completely forgotten it. I don't really mean half of the things I'm saying. When I'm like, this is an outrage, I don't really mean it's an outrage. You know, I'm just talking. Crap, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. Let me get a few. Well, here's one comment and I've got a few super chats. Hazard One says that I should ask Rob how story time went on his member stream last night. Oh no, D's big nuts. How did that go?
Tell me about the premise of this story time.
It was a story. I have this one. I have Hung Like a Horse. I've got what was the other one that I got? So I read those on members only because not reading that one out to the general public. We'll suffice it to say that there's a lot of this is not a story that you would want read to your children. But we learn lessons. We learn lessons about consent. We learn lessons about conversations and discussions that are had between couples. For example, if you happen to be a squirrel and you have these acorns, you want to make sure that the partner that's handling the acorns is handling them appropriately. So that's a consent and conversation discussion that we can have in a mature space in a members only setting where I can actually read it and just die laughing in particular moments.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Biff's Blue Balls was another one. Biff's Blue Balls. Yep, that was a good one.
Emily D. Baker has a few that she's read also.
Oh,
like what someone in the furry cup. That's one that I saw her read on her members
so
only.
Good. All of them. And it's I don't open the book. I don't open the book until I read it on the members only. And my word, some of these things from page to page. Oh,
so funny.
How do I become a member, Rob?
You can't do it. So apparently YouTube is rolling that out recently. People have asked me that question quite a bit. The iOS apps and the Android apps don't actually have a membership button or option on the app itself.
Okay.
That is going to be rolled out, I think, within the next month on YouTube. So they're beta testing it for the iOS release. So that should be updated. So people should be able to become members via their YouTube app on their phone. If you go to a browser, to Legal Bites, to Natalie Lawyer Chick, or to Law and Lumber, you can become a member via a browser to any of those. I have tried to up the members' content recently. It's not the easiest thing in the world because time blindness is a real thing.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get into the shop a couple times. I know Alita does members only stream every Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I'll bump it either to the right or to the left. But generally speaking, that's like my center of gravity is Friday, 10 a.m. East Coast time. So,
so I have to catch you live in order to become a member, basically.
There's a join box. There's a join box. Like there's a little box that says join underneath a video usually.
Now, you don't have to become a member. I can probably share you the link.
I'm getting annoyed.
Ali QOD, thanks so much for the super chat. Says there's a real psychological phenomenon that occurs when you walk through a door. The brain will close a door that makes you forget why you went into that room. Ask Spidey about it. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting to know. You know, my bachelor's in psychology really didn't go very far because I didn't know that at all. And also, I got it in 2000 and I finished it in 2006. That was a long time ago. So
I've learned more in practical experience and speaking with psychologists, psychiatrists, and seeing how it plays out in a realistic setting in families and family dynamics than I think I ever could have in any formal education on the topic.
Yeah,
it's a wild thing.
I'll be fair. There's a lot of psych stuff in criminal law, obviously, with like the not criminally responsible competency issues and alternatives to sentencing for people with mental health issues. So yeah, I definitely can see how that would play out in a family law context for sure.
Yep. So, but Alita, I'm sorry to leave you. I have to go tile
That's okay.
the remaining part of a second room. So I have to get that done before the end of the evening. So that is my
Oh my
task.
goodness.
I wanted to jump on because I predicted a 2-hour turnaround. We got 3 hours in this trial. But it was a wild one. Natalie, you need to catch up on it. It was fun.
I'm gonna sign
One
off.
question for you though before you go is from Ellen, not Sarah Lee, wants to know if we have seen My Dog Skip.
That sounds
I don't-
familiar.
I
Hold on.
haven't.
I think
Why
I
do
have.
I-
Is this I think this came up in the context of the sad dog movies conversation. So
Oh,
it probably
I
is a
can't do
sad
that.
dog movie.
Like, I don't care how
Like a
masculine you
terrier?
are. Like, if you watch Marley and Me and you make it to the end of that movie without crying,
Forget
We
the
watched
movie.
that on
The book.
Christmas Day, my family.
Book.
We
The
made the
book.
mistake. We didn't realize it was going to be so sad.
Marley and Me, the book. I was like, I don't remember where the heck I was, but I know I was laying in bed and I was reading that book and I was sobbing my eyes out. Like I was like, oh my God, Marley had been dead for years and I was losing my mind over
Yeah.
that dog. So no, sad dog stories are not for me.
Uh-huh.
I have seen My Dog Skip.
Yeah.
And it has the little boy from Malcolm in the Middle in it. I remember that. And it's very, very
Ah.
no
I'll
spoilers.
take a look at it.
I'm
Is it
kind of-
not? It's not a sad one.
No, the ending is sad.
Oh,
Well, see, I can't do that. I have to.
It's like-
I'm gonna go watch something happy while I tile this floor.
Guys, look, if any Hollywood people are watching it, stop killing the dog, okay? You know? Stop doing
seriously.
that.
You're just playing with us. It's horrible.
It's just
You have
terrible.
to deal with as it is, you know?
Like, we already have to deal with the reality of the fact that they don't live forever anyway. Like, that's real life. We come to movies for not real life.
Oh my God. Oh, if I could like have my male cat Rocky, who passed away a couple years ago, if I could have him forever and Susie forever, I mean, it would just be the best part of my life. Please, we don't need to see movies where we lose them. We love them so much, guys. Please. Give
So
us
true.
like forever animals in Hollywood. Okay, I'm gonna sign off as well.
All right.
Thank you so much
All right.
for having my intoxicated self on your stream. I'm just celebrating my trial win. Trust me.
I love it. You go celebrate. That's a great thing to celebrate.
Bye, guys. Nice
Bye,
to-
Natalie.
Rob, if you
All
need
right.
to go, you can go too. You don't have to hang around just because she just left.
I'm gonna let you wrap up. Enjoy the rest of your stream. Goodbye,
Okay.
everyone. I hope to see you guys on Friday, which is tomorrow. So until then, Alita, it's great hanging out. It's been too long. I'm so glad you're live streaming again. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for having me, and thank you guys
Of
for being
course.
here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. See you, Rob. Okay, so all right, so My Dog Skip. Sandra Ramirez, thanks so much for the super chat. Says appreciate your coverage on this trial, Lita. Thank you so much. And Sandra, were you the one that really pressed for me to start streaming this trial also? I believe you were the first person that I heard from on this. So thank you for the recommendation. And I know others did as well, so I don't want to ignore them either. But I do remember Sandra saying, Annalie Finch, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Welcome to Bite Club. I hope you can join us for our members only live stream. We won't quite be covering the same kind of stories that Rob talked about from his stream, because I don't have any of those wild books that he and Emily D. Baker have. I do suspect that at some point someone will probably send me one, but we'll see. But anyway, but yes, it's a casual hangout, and I hope to see you there, along with everybody else that became members over the course of this week. That's been great. That Sarah, thanks so much for the super chat. Says TS reminds me a lot of my uncle 5 years ago when he first showed signs of early dementia. Early on looks a lot like ADHD on roids. I saw it, but his kids didn't want to until late 2021. Then now Alzheimer's. I am so sorry to hear that. It's a hard thing to go through, and it's a hard thing for family members to sometimes come to terms with, especially the closer that you are with that person, because it means that your relationship with them will change. It means that that the way that they see themselves will change. Just so many things can change, and it's one of the worst diseases, if not the worst disease out there, in my opinion. So I'm sorry to hear that you went through that, and honestly, like that's the impression that I have of Terry Sanderson from that press conference as well. And it makes me sad. And it does. Even though I was celebrating with Gwyneth Paltrow winning, I think that absolutely that was the correct verdict. I think that he did not show his case. I mean, you know, like we talked about, it's still sad. It's still sad in my opinion. Nicholas Darrow, union rep, labor law. Thanks for the super chats. As I streamed Wisconsin v. Brown, desperately tried to do the job the defense didn't. It's hard to do that when you're not in the courtroom. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I've got to check out your coverage on that then to see at the very least that opening statement by the defense. That is wild. So Kate Eliza, the screaming goat made me a screaming Kate the first time, referring to a screaming goat toy that Rob and Emily both have. And I think Ian might have one also. But yeah. So, okay. I think that for me might about do it. You guys, thank you so much for being here. This has been great. Thanks for watching with me. And I feel like we had a really great conversation here. Thanks to Rob and Natalie again for coming here and hanging out with me during this verdict stream. What a ride, right? What a ride. I thought that the conclusion should be reached quickly, but I always figure that I feel that the jury should reach a conclusion faster than they actually are prepared to do so. So I wasn't so certain if they were going to reach one today, but it's nice to see some closure for it, and nice to see that, you know, both sides can finally move forward with their lives after 7 years of litigation. But okay. All right. Thanks again to everybody. And as always, thank you to the mods for all of your hard work and trying to keep things open and with free discussion, but, you know, still civil. Okay. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And members, I'll see you tomorrow in the members only stream. And everybody else, I'll see you in the next video.